Well, daylight savings time is here, so we're 1 hour ahead. Sorry about that tonight. Also, we are going to be talking about WDW versus Disneyland, all the differences, which one's the best tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for March 12th, 2023. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside, and thank you guys so much for your patience. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Please, if you can, give us a thumbs up so it helps people to find us, and subscribe to WDWNT TV. We have put together a panel of experts to talk about Disney World versus Disneyland, and we're going to get to that in a minute, but we're going to start with some parks news. But with me is Kamila.
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday.
Mr. Rob Bazemore.
Good evening, guys. Pleasure to be here.
And we're going to talk about some parks news first, and then we're going to get into this Disneyland, Disney World, because, man, I am stoked. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have for a long time. I wanted to have some people here who have been to both, so I'm really excited about that. So we'll keep the park news short, but I definitely want to get into some of the stuff that happened in the past week so that we can make sure to keep people updated on that stuff. The first thing I want to talk about is South by Southwest. I don't know if you guys saw this, but our boy Josh Tomorrow, was at South by Southwest, and it's a everything convention, like basically anything tech is going to be there, and he was there showing off some amazing stuff. We saw the Hulk, which we had seen before at D23. It's actually made an appearance at Avengers Campus already, and then we saw this Tinkerbell example of like a little small Tinkerbell, but we also saw this thing that was sort of like a Judy Hopps-ish, like scary Judy Hopps, that can fall down and get back up again, and she's on roller skates, and they didn't really say Judy Hopps, but I feel like, Kamila, this was probably Judy Hopps, wasn't it?
Well, and that's the thing, is it was kind of funny because it was like something that didn't have like its outfit on, because it looked like what you would see on the inside of an animatronic, without the exterior that we're used to. But can I just say, I love that Disney was there representing at the South by Southwest Festival. I feel like it continues to feel like a festival where people are releasing important information, showing off new technology. So I love that Disney was there, being in the mix. I don't know, honestly, if it's something they've gone to before, but I think it's great. I thought this was a really cool moment, and it was kind of funny because I felt like watching it almost seemed like Josh was scared. Like he was like, please be able to do what you're supposed to do, which was like some kind of little flip, which whatever, it was able to do it. And it was really cool, but there definitely was a moment where I just felt like they were all silently panicking, which was kind of fun to see. And then they also, showed where there were some improvements to the lightsaber. It felt like we got a glimpse at what was like the most realistic looking version of a lightsaber. And I loved seeing that because I felt like it just means they're continuing to innovate and perfect that. And I just hope that can be maybe a version of a product that we can buy someday. So yeah, I thought a lot of really cute, exciting moments. I will say, the Tinkerbell meet and greet, which I think Disney posted like a TikTok or something about it, and definitely go watch that if you haven't seen it. But the thing about that Tinkerbell meet and greet, I feel like they can do more with Tinkerbell than just a meet and greet. To me, it's kind of like when they had like the BB-8 meet and greets where like, it's not really a real person. It's a little bit limited in how you can interact with them. Still very fun and totally worth it. But I would like to see maybe a little bit more of an actual experience with this version of Tinkerbell. The technology looks cool. It seems like there's a lot they can do, but I'd rather see something maybe a little bit more like a Turtle Talk with Crush version, but it's Tinkerbell. I think that could be really fun. So, but yeah, really exciting, fun updates.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that when it comes to the meet and greets, it's really cool to meet your favorite character, and the fact that they're making it more interactive with some of the stuff. The Hulk, I didn't get to see the Hulk. We saw him come out on stage at D23. I did not get to see him at Avengers Campus. He looks kind of amazing. Actually, funny enough, he does remind me of Rob Bazemore. If you've ever made Rob mad, you know what I'm talking about. But Rob, out of all these that you've seen, is there one that you were like, I would fly anywhere to see this live and in person?
Yeah, I think that the robot gave me I envisioned the idea of these robots is that we could finally bring the notion of characters roaming around the parks. Roaming around. Imagine actually having significant numbers of droids walking around or running around Galaxy's Edge. Really excited that they can do this, and also when you look at the characters that are they're much smaller than humans, they can't put a person in a costume and have them out there. Having these robots running around look really, really exciting. It was also cool with the lightsaber, right? It's the first lightsaber they've had that actually retracts. The previous demos they've had the lightsaber extend, but never retract. So I'm wondering if this is going to be something different that they'll use at the Galactic Star Cruiser. That was another piece, right, where it just went up and never came back down. It looks like a really cool technology, and I look forward to the day that I can have my very own retractable, fully functional lightsaber.
Well, if you keep backing out on the Galactic Star Cruiser, you're not going to actually get your chance to see it in action, man.
Yeah, that's true. I hope when I actually have the time to go down there that it's still operating.
So one of the other things that Josh had alluded to before this happened was that Tron was just the tip of the iceberg for new attractions and things coming. And I saw a lot of people online going, if a rehash of a Shanghai attraction is the future, is that really what we want? I think it's one of these things more like, hey, we're going to do more stuff, and they've basically, I feel like, and Kamala, I'm going to throw this one to you. I feel like that in the past D23, it was a lot of, we may do this someday, but we don't know, but we're thinking about it, but here it is, blue sky stuff, and then updating us on things that we've already known about for like 7 years. And maybe that's the COVID effect still. I don't know how much longer we get to play that card, but it's one of those things where like you always want there to be new stuff. And so how do you feel about like him teasing the future like this? Are you like, put your money where your mouth is?
I'm going to be honest. I agree with people who said, how is this the future? This is something that literally was already in existence, and you just brought it over to the US, which is great. I mean, I'm glad that, it'll be much easier for, us to have access to this ride. But I feel like the game really changed when Universal came out and just announced all these new theme parks, new locations, new, ideas with the permanent Halloween Horror Nights in Las Vegas. I feel like that really put pressure on Disney. I think they thought they were going to have some time to figure out the streaming side of the business, try to get profitable there, and then figure out where they were going to spend money. And then Universal, probably knowing that, decided, they were going to come out and release all their news. And I really feel like Disney just feels pressure. And so, it does seem like they've changed their compared to the blue sky, brainstorming sessions that we saw at D23. Now all of a sudden it's, you can't believe what's coming. Get ready for what's coming, right? When will they actually announce something? Who knows? But I feel like they've got to keep us keep us guessing while Universal is literally opening up new parks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So one of the other things that we heard this week was there was breaking news that Bruce Vaughn was returning to Imagineering as the chief creative officer. And quite honestly, the picture that we put on the website, I was like, what is he like? It's like Saint Bruce here. I don't know. There's something weird about the way that we've depicted him here. And Rob, I'm gonna throw this one to you because do you think him returning is Josh and Bob putting their money where their mouth is? Is this them going, hey, it's the new dawn? By the way, I also did see a lot of people say, yeah, this is great, bring Joe Rohde back. But anyway, Rob, what do you think?
So I think a couple things are happening here. Yes, I think the investments, they're bringing people back to help shape the investments in the parks. But on the financial side, I think the real crux of the story is they've got feedback that the parks are overcrowded, so they have to scale back that. So the big spenders won't keep coming back if the parks remain to be overcrowded. So the real focus here is how do we add capacity to the parks so we can increase attendance and drive increased revenue through the park. So I think that's kind of well, I'd love to be just a feel-good story. We're investing in the parks, but in reality, I think this is a all play to figure out how they can, as quickly as possible, add capacity to increase revenue.
Let's talk about something else that has actually been, like I said, on the docket forever, which is Lighthouse Point. Apparently, Disney Cruise Line is going to be welcoming guests to Lighthouse Point beginning summer 2024. I feel like, didn't we talk about this in 2004? No, it wasn't that far back. But it's something we've been talking about for a while. Kamila, I know that you do a lot of stuff with travel. Have you had people who have asked you questions about Lighthouse Point, or have you been like anxiously awaiting this, or do most people just not care?
No, I think this is a really exciting update. I think in particular, if you are a Disney Cruise Line person with any kind of status, platinum, gold, whatever it is, those are probably some of the first people who were like, oh, okay, let me look at the 2024 itinerary and, around the timeline of when this is coming out. I think it's needed because especially now that we have so many more sailings, people are comfortable and enjoying cruising again. Castaway Cay can get really busy. And so to be able to, split up, especially on days where you could have multiple ships wanting to dock in that port, it's going to be great to have Lighthouse Point as another destination. It's going to be, another place for people to check out and, compare the two. I will say in what we know about Lighthouse Point so far, it kind of seems like Castaway Cay 2.0. Not that that's at all a bad thing, because I think Castaway Cay is wonderful, but I'm at least, based on what we know so far, I'm not seeing things that are so different or outside of the box of what we already have. But it'll be great to have another one thinking about a capacity standpoint. And then the other thing I was going to say, and this might be a small point, I wish so much Disney would do more cabanas. It is so hard to get a cabana if you are not a concierge level if you're not someone who books concierge level, because usually the concierge people take up all the cabanas, and so no one else really has a chance. And I feel like it's money that people will spend, and so I wish they already kind of announced how many cabanas. It seemed like it will be about 24, I think it was, total between the adult and the kids area cabanas, and so I just feel like those get snapped up so quickly. Why not have more?
Yeah, no, I get that. And joining us is Allie from Disneyland. Allie, you came straight from Disneyland, right?
Apologies, yes, came straight from Disneyland.
Okay.
And the freeways were not cooperative, but I'm here now.
No. Okay. So let me ask you this. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about Disneyland, since you were just there. This week they finally opened the gift shop for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I mean, a month and a half late? How does Disney miss the opportunity to sell us stuff?
I really don't know how they missed the opportunity, and I was wondering that today as it took us almost an hour to park, like another opportunity for them to make more money off of us. But I guess it was supposed to open with Toontown, so maybe if we look at it the other way, it actually opened early, but I still feel like that was a huge missed opportunity to not open with the ride, because all of us California people wanted the merchandise and it just wasn't there on opening day.
Yeah. No, I got you. Okay. Dawn is asking ahead of time how this is a versus situation when most of y'all folks go to Disneyland, but I got to tell you, I feel like we all go to both parks, and I think a lot of cases we've got a lot of Disney World people who have never been to Disneyland. So I feel like in this case, we've got a good mix here of people who have been on a regular basis. It's just right now, Allie is actually in Disneyland covering for Disneyland News today. So hopefully we'll have a very fair assessment when we talk about Disneyland and Disney World in the back half of the show here in just a minute, or just a few. So the gift shop, I remember riding the attraction and walking out going, man, I wish I could look behind these curtains and see what's there. But it didn't seem like there was a ton of new stuff there. But you've been in there and you've seen it and you've taken the pictures and everything, right?
Arlo actually took the pictures, but yeah, it looked
Gotcha.
like there wasn't a lot of new stuff. It was just stuff from Florida that had finally made its way over here. Nothing was Disneyland specific, which I think is a little bit of a miss, but...
Did you get to see this little beauty in person, the new
Yes.
Cinderella coach pumpkin bucket. Um, so it looks like basically like the other Cinderella coach, but just like the 100th anniversary silver and purple version. Although I don't remember if she was inside the coach on the other one or not. I'd have to go back
She
and
was
look that
inside,
one
I
up.
think, on the other one, yeah.
Okay. Speaking of Disneyland versus Disney World, I think it's unfair that we didn't get this at Disney World first because I mean it's Cinderella. This is, her castle. I'm hoping that this one comes out to this coast, so I don't have to ask you to buy this one for me. And I think you're hoping that too. Um, have you seen
It
it in
looks like
person?
it's
Go ahead, Kamila.
no. I just was gonna say I was thinking the reason it was at Disneyland is it looks like it's the colors of the 100-year celebration, and so because it has rolled out at Disneyland, I mean that was just my thought.
No, I agree with you. That's absolutely what's happening. But we
Yeah.
also have seen that they're starting to roll out the 50th or push out the 50th stuff and bring in the 100 years at Disney World. So when they do that, I mean, a lot of that gear has already made its way. I think that the lamp that I wanted so much that came to Disneyland and Disney World has gone away. But other than that, there's a lot of stuff that I think they're starting to move into Disney World so that they can celebrate the 100th and push away the 50th because that's going to end very soon. When it ends, we're getting Happily Ever After back, and they're actually testing it now. And Rob, did you have any infatuation with this show? Any attachment to this show? Is this the one show that it made you cry when it left?
I like all the shows, but honestly, I don't have a particular attachment to any of them. Unfortunately, I guess it's my cold heart. They just don't make me tear up like some of our brothers and sisters.
Okay. Kamila, how about you? Happily Ever After?
Yeah, I'm excited for Happily Ever After to come back. To be honest, partially just so I can stop hearing people complain about Enchantment. Like that kind of ruined the vibe a little bit. But I had some good experiences with Enchantment. There was one day where I was like with my family and we were leaving Be Our Guest, and we got to watch the entire show like from the little bridgeway like of Be Our Guest, and no one else was around, and we got to see the whole show from like right there, and it was still like really good viewing. And so I mean we really enjoyed it. I thought Harmonious was better, and I really do like Harmonious. But yeah, I'm happy that Happily Ever After is coming back. It's just such a good and it gives everyone, I feel like, all the feels.
Well, that's all we want is all the feels. I'm gonna move to a topic that I think am the lone dissenter on, which is Impressions of France. There was a big hoopla that Impressions of France had run to only running in the morning hours. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to go to the mat saying that Beauty and the Beast sing-along is the best thing I've ever seen. But for me, Impressions of France was one of those that I was like, it's been around. It'd be nice if you updated it. I'm all for having countries in the countries. But I wasn't a huge fan of this show. I would go and it was kind of a one and done for me. But I think a lot of the folks on the blog are huge fans of Impressions of France. So, Kamila, are you? Is
I
that a
have thoughts
must-do
about
for you?
this.
Give me
So
thoughts.
here's the thing. We need to be honest about the fact that Impressions de France is the perfect place to escape the hot weather and the sun. Okay. So you're going to want to go to that show, especially during the day. I would say, especially during the middle of the day, because it's a great way. Like they have actual seats. It's not that ridiculous, like circle theater where you have to stand. I mean, I'll do that too, to get some air conditioning, but like they have seats. The show is relatively long, but I'm telling you, from when I was a kid to now that I'm an adult, it is literally the same show. And I can remember the first time I went back to Disney World on my own as an adult, I was like, wait a minute, how is this the exact same show that I remember as a little kid? Like, you cannot tell me that it is difficult for Disney to put together some kind of little film reel. Why? What are we doing? But I want to just say this. The Beauty and the Beast sing-along? No. I would rather be in the sun and miserable than sit in that. I'm not doing it.
It is a very nice place to duck in for some air conditioning, but it was one of those things that when I was an adult, I did not take my kids to. And then I finally took them to it, and they were like, "Okay, we've done that." But I know that that folks like Tom get really upset if you take away their impressions show. So
You have to have that in the World Showcase, or something like it, but not the Beauty and the Beast sing along, but like this idea that you're introducing people to these countries, these new cultures, like that's important to me. Like the taiko drummers, you have to have all of that.
okay, I'm down. So we were talking about this little pre-show and about Tron. So Tron is almost open. Tron is opening April 4th, and apparently everybody except for the four of us has ridden it. I feel like at this point so far, probably.
But for
between
Rob and
cast
I
mem-
soon.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fun.
So no, that Rob, they're gonna go. You guys are gonna be there opening day, right?
Next month. Well, Rob's, I think I'm just in April, but so soon.
Yeah. I'll be there opening day.
So then you're going to need to know all this information about the virtual queue that we have on our website. So apparently it says how and when to sign up for Tron Light Cycle virtual queue. Basically, I think it's the same thing, but it says virtual queue will open again at 6 p.m. when they're extended evening hours. That's the same thing that we see for Cosmic Rewind, 7 a.m. for the first one, 1 p.m. for the second one. So it's the same situation, and Cosmic Rewind will continue to have, from what we're hearing, a virtual queue even when Tron opens up its virtual queue. But Rob, you're going to be there opening day, right? Is that what you said?
I will be, yes.
Do you have any concerns that you're going to go there on opening day, you're going to be wearing your Tron guy outfit, you're going to show up, and you're not going to be able to get in? Like, do you have any concerns about that?
I'm not even going to try. I'm going to go straight to Lightning Lane. I'm not even going to try to go with a virtual queue because I would be very disappointed. In fact, I would probably stay an extra day. Because I'm flying across the country just to go to ride this ride. I would be very disappointed if I didn't get in, for sure.
Okay. And Kamila, you said you're going out. I mean, do you have the same concern? You going straight to Lightning Lane?
Yeah, absolutely. I have no problem with the Lightning Lane. Like Rob, in order to get to Florida, I have to take a very long, unpleasant flight. So yes, it's worth it to me to pay the extra, I don't even know what it is, $15, $25. Who knows what kind of pricing we'll see, by the way. But so yeah, I plan to go that first. And then, to be honest, I'm hoping that if I don't get also a virtual queue at 7 a.m., that I'll get a 1 p.m. But to be honest, as long as I get one ride, I feel like I'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Allie, are you planning a trip around this one?
I am not. The soonest we'll be back is probably August, and based on what Jason and Eric told me, it sounds like I'd probably rather be on Cosmic Rewind, but that's just me. I'm hoping to go in August, and I don't feel like I need to be there on opening day.
I've asked for no spoilers because I want no spoilers, but I do want Tron merchandise, and apparently that's not going to happen until May, which again, we're missing another opportunity there, right? The fact that it's going to, here's an attraction that's going to open and people are going to be all excited about it, and there's not going to be any merch available for it. So, because again, the gift shop doesn't open until
It
May
must
is
have been
what
because
we
they
feel.
built the ride so quickly they didn't have a chance to.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's absolutely what happened. And I mean, you can scream about the T-shirts, not getting here fast enough because of the shipping delays, but there's yeah, that's
Know what? It would be some fun merch to see though for this ride is like a train set, but it's like the Tron vehicles and it like lights up. That would be so cool.
Well, I mean, if Shanghai hasn't done it by now, I can't imagine we'll get that. But we can go ahead and put in a request for that. The other thing that we've been stalking as a blog is this freaking stand, this freaking like snack stand. I mean, I can't tell you how many articles and pictures I've seen every time like a door opens or they do something to it. So I'm hoping that whatever this stand is selling is going to be great. Honestly, it better be popcorn buckets. That's all I'm saying is like I need me a Tron popcorn bucket, and I have yet to see that emerge anywhere.
Do we have any idea if it's going to be like it's going to be food, it's going to be drinks?
I think it's going to be just a snack stand, but I don't know what specifically is going to be there. So I mean, you can tell by this shot we have here. You can see the Coca-Cola logo through that opening there, so you know that it's at least going to have that and going to be food and beverage. So that's what we know right now. There's an ordering window, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, it's funny. Every little thing we do, every little thing they do to Tron, we've been tracking because we've been waiting for it for so long. The other thing that they have is this post show. The Team Green post show has opened at the Magic Kingdom. So no gift shop, but we have this post show here. So again, these are spoilers, I guess, but it looks pretty cool. So I mean, anything more Tron that I can have, I'm excited about. So.
I'll be honest, that gives me Test Track vibes. I don't know if anyone else, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Very like new Test Track 2.0. I could totally see that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just do one last story here, and then we'll cut away for. Actually, two things I wanted to talk about before we move on. One is St. Patrick's Day is this week. We're going to do a Deep in the Plus on Wednesday night about the Happiest Millionaire, which apparently is St. Patrick's based. So hopefully you'll join us for that. But if you need to run out to the parks and get some
Cool.
St. Patrick's Day treats, this is the food and beverage coming to Walt Disney World, and that's a lot of green. But I mean, I don't know if there's anything, if you guys have looked through this and there's anything that steps out for you, but I think the stuff at Disneyland looks a little better. Thoughts?
I think it looks better. I had to eat the corn dog last year, the green corn dog.
Got to, Allie, you got to eat the green corn dog.
Yeah. To eat the green corn dog.
Yeah.
It tasted like the regular corn dog. It just was interesting.
But I mean, I feel like, and we talked about this before, I like it when they do special event stuff for Lunar New Year or for, Women's Month or for Valentine's Day and, all of these different things that they do. But it really looks like I don't remember them going this far over the top. Do they usually go this far over the top with this many treats, Allie, or is this new?
I feel like last year there was the corn dog and the green stuff, and I thought that was it. And then Sprinkles usually has like a cupcake or something, but it definitely seems like there's a few more options this year, which I'm totally here for.
Okay.
Like I'm all
well,
food.
And you're gonna have to eat it and let us know how it is, right?
I'm hoping I don't have to eat that again, but
the things you do for the company, I gotta tell
great.
you. I mean, we really appreciate it. And then the other thing was that Woody's Roundup Barbecue is getting, again, like we talked about with Lighthouse Point, like we talked about with Tron, it's getting very close. And every time they do something new, we talk about it. But they've got this thing, which honestly, I'm a little shocked by because this is not in the concept art. So if you look at the concept art here, you can see the 3 little flags that are up at the top on the toothpicks, and they've already installed those, and those are great. And there's a drawing there of Buttercup, but like this is a little bit more over the top what they're doing here with this design stuff. Rob, did you give the okay for this? Because I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure how this is going to look.
That design did not make it to my desk. I clearly would not have approved it.
Okay, that's what I was afraid of. Are you making a reservation to go to Roundup Barbecue when you're there for Tron?
I haven't. That wasn't on my ADR list, but I think I may try to get there.
Yeah, I mean, why not, dude? I mean, this is like it's new. You gotta try it all when you're there. So honestly, I'm just wanting this to open. I hope the inside's cool. That's the other thing is we've seen all this stuff from the outside. We've seen the food. I hope the inside is cool. So let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back, and we are going to talk about the topic of the night, which is Disneyland versus Walt Disney World. So don't go away. We will be right back.
Welcome to Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside as he and a panel of Disney superfans take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog. They'll tell you its history, details, and give their review, so you'll know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Wednesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes, or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube on WDWNT TV.
This program is brought to you by WIGS, the WDWNT Inner Globe Society. Support WDWNT to get early and exclusive access to content you can't find anywhere else, including exclusive post shows for WDW News Tonight and ParksCenter, access to our prize wall, a monthly Zoom with Tom, access to our Discord community, early access to our events, and much more, starting at just $2 per month. For more information, visit patreon.com/WDWNT or visit WDWNT.com and click the Patreon link. Join WIGS and unlock even more WDWNT.
Welcome back to ParksCenter. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys again so much for being with us on this Sunday night. And instead of watching the Oscars, you're watching us, and we appreciate it. One quick note that I wanted to say is don't forget to join us for Deep in the Plus on Wednesday night when we are going to be doing our St. Patrick's Day with the Happiest Millionaire. I actually have a quick rundown of what we got coming up there. We did this past week, we did Treasure Planet with our good friend Katie, and this week we're doing Happiest Millionaire with Patrick, and then the week after we're going to be doing National Treasure. So hopefully you'll tune in and join us for that. But let's get to the topic of the night, which is Disneyland versus Disney World. And the reason that I've set it up this way is that I feel like normally, if you grew up on the East Coast, you have more of an affinity for Disney World. It's your park. It's where you went. For me personally, I was a cast member there. I didn't go to Disneyland until I was in my probably mid to late 20s for the first time. So that's like Disney World's always been my park. But it's funny, if you talk to somebody who is not a huge Disney fan, they say, "Are you going to Disney?" And to them, they think they're interchangeable. They think they're the same park, and they're absolutely, not the same resorts when you're talking about the two different Disneys. So obviously, we know there are overseas parks, but we're just talking about Disneyland and Disney World and the differences between the two. So it's not necessarily a versus, but it is kind of a versus, because I think everybody has their own favorites when it comes to this. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say, though, that from the top, the one thing that drives me nuts, and I think probably most of us on the blog, is when people call Disney World, and it happened to me with my niece of all people this weekend, Disney World the happiest place on earth, because it's not. Disney World is the most magical place on earth. And again, I don't want to offend anybody, because I feel like we all know this, but I'm just making sure we said it straight for the record. Disney World is the most magical place on earth, and Disneyland is the happiest place on earth, because they can't both be the happiest. So, just if you guys didn't know that, there's a little piece of information for you, but I'm just saying. So let's get into the specifics. I want to go down here, and I feel like, and again, Dawn called this out earlier, that most of y'all, I think your first parks were Disneyland for the three of you guys, yes? No. All right, Allie, we'll start with Allie. What was your first park that you ever went to, first Disney park?
Disney World was my first park. My parents took me in 1989. I was 4 years old. I do not remember it. And then I went again, I think when I was 10, to Disney World, and then again one time in college. So I didn't go to Disneyland until, like you, mid-20s. So I grew up with Florida.
Nice. Kamila?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I also grew up mostly going to Disney World. And what's interesting is, so my dad grew up like 10 minutes down the street from Disneyland. And so I think technically the first park that I ever visited was Disneyland, but it was like when I was a little kid, and I don't remember it at all. But when we like were kids, and we would vacation at theme parks, it would actually always be Disney World. So despite the fact that we were West Coast, we never considered really Disneyland, even for quick trips. It was always, week-long stays at Disney World. So I really grew up, what I would say, going to Disney World, not Disneyland.
Gotcha. And Rob?
Yeah, pretty much the same story. I grew up in Florida, so I probably visited Disney World 100 times before I ever went to Disneyland for the first time. And even today, I probably do each park 2 to 3 times a year. So I visit both about the same number of times a year.
Okay. All right. So then maybe we don't have as much bias on the panel as we thought, right? Like everybody has at least been to both enough to be able to compare the things. So let's talk about, I'm going to break it down by category. And the first category is the big one. It's attractions. I think most of my favorite attractions, honestly, and again, grew up going to Disney World, and then worked there as a cast member. But I think most of my favorite attractions are actually in Disneyland, and I think that probably my favorite attraction is probably still Radiator Springs Racers, because that is like the best of all the Disney attraction pieces. Like when we think of a Disney attraction, what are we thinking of? We're thinking of animatronics, and we're thinking of a fun element and a story and the music. And to me, like, that's one of those that I really love. Plus all the overlays that they do. I think we've probably talked about before that Disneyland is really more of a locals park. So, they want to see new things, and that's probably why you have more overlays at Disneyland than you do at Disney World, which is really more of a tourist park. And so in that particular case, they want to keep things like, this is the only time you ever go to Disney World. You want the Haunted Mansion to be the Haunted Mansion and not Haunted Mansion Holiday. But I'm going to say, again, for me, I think that probably it's Radiator Springs Racers is my favorite attraction. And when it comes to other attractions, though, there's a lot of them that you go, do I like the Disney World version better, or do I like the Disneyland version better? So tell me what that is for you, Kamila, the ones where you're like, this one's better over at this park.
Space Mountain Disneyland. Listen, I just want you all to know, you can have gone on the Space Mountain at Disney World, but if you've never gone on the Space Mountain at Disneyland, you have not been on Space Mountain, okay? You've been on whatever that is over at Disney World, and we're all embarrassed by it, and it needs to end. But the Space Mountain at Disneyland is so good. It is so well done. Add an overlay, don't have an overlay. I could ride that ride before over and over again. Usually when I am starting my days in Disneyland, that is where I am going. I am rope dropping that, and nothing breaks my heart more than when it has a late open, which happens more than it should lately. But absolutely the Space Mountain Disneyland for me.
Okay. Rob?
There's 2 for me, really. I look at Pirates of the Caribbean, way better in California, and then also Haunted Mansion, especially when you start looking at the overlays. It's a drastically better ride. Both of those are significantly better in Disneyland.
Okay, and Allie?
Yeah, definitely agree on Space Mountain. Ours is way better. I went on the Florida one in August, and I will never go on it again. That was a train wreck. That was bad. Yes, our Pirates is way better. Our Haunted Mansion, I think, is better because our room actually stretches and we get the overlay. And I also think that our Small World is better. It's the original one. It's longer. It seems to be a little bit better taken care of. You get to go outside. And then if you even want to really get into it, I really like our Guardians of the Galaxy ride. I mean, Tower of Terror is amazing, but the Guardians ride here is really, really good and a really good use of that technology.
Yeah, I actually love the fact that both exist. That's the thing, too, is like Galaxy's Edge is a clone. And I don't necessarily love the fact that it's a clone, that it's the same thing in both sides. I mean, there's an extra exit in the one in California, but I think in general, I feel like it is I feel like it is a waste because if they're both domestic parks and everybody on this panel has been to both, it'd be nice if it was something different, if it was something that gave it, you gave you a reason to have that destination. Now, I will say, like, I'm glad we're getting Tron here because I think I may go to Shanghai never. So that's good. But I mean, the stuff that's domestic, I feel like those parks are fairly close together and they should be somewhat different.
Can I point out? Oh, go ahead, Rob. I'm
Kamila
sorry.
No, go Kamila first, and then we'll go to
super
Rob.
quick. One, I feel like very important difference between just the Galaxy's Edge, and this is just like a minor point, but I think it's an important one. The vegan Ronto wrap in Disneyland is 100,000 times better, and it's different. It has kimchi, it's got different flavors. It is so good and well done. Like, you don't even have to be vegan, and I'm telling you, you will fall in love with that Ronto wrap. I've had the vegan Ronto wrap in Disney World. No, it just no. I remember biting in and being like, wait a minute, what? So I really need to point that out because I think that's a thing. Like, there are like these small differences that to me are huge, that in terms of like what I can find at Disneyland in different places when it should be the same thing or similar.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a small world. It's a small world. Nobody here talked about that one, but to me, the original, there's so much about the It's a Small World at Disneyland that is like I love. It's the original, it's the one from the 1964 World's Fair, and it's got the Disney characters in it. However, it's a flume instead of flooded. There is something about the one and the entranceway is amazing because you get to see that full facade. But the one at Disney World is flooded and to me feels bigger because of that. I do think that it'd be nice if they would refresh the one in Disney World and maybe put in some of those new, some of those figures. But I do think that inside that whole flooded area, it makes it feel like it's more of a permanent attraction because it is. And the original one was moved from out in New York back to California. So I do think that's almost a draw. It's funny to me too that you were talking about Space Mountain. The Space Mountain in Disney World is 3 people in a row. Like you're sitting single file with the your legs up in front of the other person. Whereas the one at Disneyland is 2 side by side, and our Splash Mountains were reversed. The Splash Mountains in Florida, I feel like the Splash Mountain in Disney World, I feel like was I'm going to say I feel like it was a better attraction. And I'm going to tell you because I feel like that the one thing that is like all those America Sings figures that went in there, it made it feel longer, but they seemed so old. And there was something fresher about the one in Florida. And the fact that you could sit side by side. That log, I feel like it was me and Tom and somebody else in that log in Disneyland, and I felt like we were going to just sink to the bottom. It was not.
You could have.
yeah, it was not the same. So I do think there are some, the Pirates one is longer and has more stuff in it because it has to go down and then outside the berm to be able to, fit the show building, and the same thing with the Haunted Mansion and the elevator. So, but the other thing to think about as far as attractions go is that the Disneyland, and this may not be accurate, this number I'm looking at, but Disneyland has the most attractions of any single Disney theme park. And it has 53 attractions in one teeny tiny package. And again, it may be, your mileage may vary. It could be more or less than that one. But, Magic Kingdom does not have the same amount, and it has the most that we see in Florida. So, again, this list I'm looking at right here, 23, and it's calling them rides, 23 rides, 9 rides at Epcot, 9 rides at Hollywood Studios, and 9 rides at Animal Kingdom. So again, there's probably a few more here and there. I don't think those numbers are accurate, but that one park, Disneyland Park, has so many attractions to go in and see that it's kind of cool. So I feel like that in general, we're saying that we think Disneyland wins with attractions. Disneyland Resort. Yes?
So I think when you look at comparable rides, it's tough when you're looking at Disneyland Resort compared to Walt Disney World Resort, right? If you're looking at all 4 parks compared to the 2 parks that are in California, that becomes it's a much more challenging conversation to have, because you start looking at the World Showcase, you start looking at Guardians of the Galaxy, you start looking at all the rides and Hollywood Studios. There's quite a bit more than a whole interactive Animal Kingdom. There's just a lot more. So it probably would depend on like the length of your vacation. Sure, if you only have a couple days, you can see and do a lot more in California than you can in Orlando. But if you look at the two holistically, if someone says, hey, I'll give you a vacation and you can experience everything at Walt Disney World, or I'll give you a vacation where you can experience everything at Disneyland, that's a tough call.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I would add to that too. I feel like as much as I love Disneyland, when I think about rides that I am nostalgic for, or that, I miss, or like when I think about my must-dos across, all of the domestic parks, I think about like Living with the Land and Spaceship Earth and People Mover and Carousel of Progress. And Disneyland doesn't have really anything like that. And then add to that, they really are not, I mean, they're going to get better because they're going to add that, what is it, Mr. Rogers show, or Roger, whatever. We talked about it last time.
Oh my gosh. Rogers the musical, Mr. Rogers. Come on.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying. That new Hyperion show, whatever it is. Sorry. But like they don't have the shows, like I can't go see my Lion King Circle of Life. And so like, my one wish for Disneyland overall, and this is why I was so adamant that like you can't take PhilharMagic. We forever need to have the animation studio, because we don't have those places where you can just go sit and chill and watch and rest for a moment in Disneyland. It feels like you have to constantly be going between these attractions, and that can be a little exhausting.
So let me put a caveat on this, because the way I broke down these categories, I had a separate category for entertainment. Because, but it is an attraction, right? Like Indiana Jones is an attraction. That's an attraction. But what is Fantasmic? Is it an attraction? Because at Disney World, it's an attraction that you can get passes for. But at Disneyland, it's in the middle of everything. So is that a nighttime spectacular, or is that an attraction? I don't know. So so when I break that down, I think that I had attractions as more like rides, but let's roll into entertainment then and talk about that. But before you do, Izzo's place said, I can't steal a cucumber from any attraction in Disneyland. So, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, you made some great points though about Living with the Land, some very unique attractions that exist in the Florida. I mean, with Epcot, it was something new and different what they would do there. So I love that there's a little bit of difference between the two. But let's roll that into entertainment, because I agree with you. There was the Mickey and the Magical Map, which is now a Lion King show. That's really, I mean, isn't that really it in Disneyland as far as shows go, other than the nighttime and the parades, Allie?
We do have the Lion King show.
Right.
Sometimes when it's playing, and the parade, and Fantasmic if it's not raining, and fireworks when it's not raining, and World of Color. But I mean, Disney World definitely has way more entertainment. Like, I want to go see their Lion King show for sure. And Epcot, there's always stuff happening. The taiko drums, just walking around, the JAMMitors, those guys in Canada. Just, way more entertainment in Florida.
Yeah, and honestly, again, with entertainment, I'm still talking about, I mean, you've got nighttime shows, you've got, you've got the parades, you've got the pop-up entertainment like you were talking about, like Divine and things like that. Those little like interactions that happen a little bit more often in places like that. The Great Bird Adventure, or
Bird
whatever
show,
we're calling that, these days. So, I mean, there's a lot of pros about the whole, Beauty and the Beast live on stage, and even though it's not open right now, maybe someday the Little Mermaid attraction opens back up again. There are just so many more entertainment options, I feel like, in Disney World. But is there something in particular as far as entertainment goes, other than Impressions de France for air conditioning, Kamila, that you wanted to like highlight for entertainment there?
I mean, I would say, and I'm going to call this a show. I don't, maybe it technically is something else, but um, the drawing with the animators that you can do over at Disney California Adventure. I mean, if you've never done that, put that right at the top of your list because it's incredible. And oftentimes these are real animators, people who have drawn for years some of our favorite characters, and you'll go into one thinking there's absolutely no way I can draw, Figment, and you'll come out with like, wow, I drew Figment. I mean, they really do walk you through it. It's a great place to just sit. The atmosphere in there is just, I mean, you like, it's just so well themed. You feel like you've entered some kind of caricature of what you think an animator's workshop might look like. So to me, I would say that's the one that I duck into when I need to just kind of chill, get away, and not be going on some kind of big drop ride.
Well, and that used to exist at Disney World at the Art of Animation before that became Launch Bay, and then they moved it in some shape or form to Rafiki's Planet Watch, where you can go and draw a character there. But it isn't quite the same there because it feels more like a timeshare seminar the way they've got that room set up than it does. Right? I mean, like it feels more like yeah. So, and then as far as the that drawing experience, they were supposed to have the Edna's fashion school that was supposed to be in the Play Pavilion, which hasn't happened. But I love that experience because it's like, it's, as they say in like Lanyap, it's a little something extra. You can go in and draw something and get something that you get to take with you and keep, and it's a different experience than, like you said, just another a roller coaster or something like that. So I do agree with you that that's cool that that's there because I miss it from Disney World, but there are versions of it at Disney World. But yeah, but Kamila, you got to agree with me. The PhilharMagic there is subpar compared to the real one in Florida.
It is, but because we have so few rides or just attractions or shows where you can just sit and, I don't know, like if you just want to have 10 or 15 minutes to chill, it's still so good. And I just love PhilharMagic anyway. So in any shape or fashion, I will love it. But yeah, I mean, absolutely the Disney World version is superior. And don't miss either of them. I mean, I love PhilharMagic.
Yeah. I want to point out a super chat from Jungle Cruiser, especially for you, Kamila. We are getting Rogers the Musical and DCA. We win, you lose. Also, Mr. Toad is still at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, yes. Jungle Cruiser, love you. Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. But if y'all tuned in last week, Kamila was like, I don't really know what Rogers the Musical is. I'm glad you guys are excited about it, but I don't know what it is. And I was just like, yeah, I would. Patrick and I were both like, yeah, we will get on planes right now if that thing opens up tomorrow and come out and see it. Because of how much we love what they're doing with that one. So that's very cool. Again, thank you for the super chat. Mr. Toad, that's a great point, going back to attractions. Like, but again, to my original thought of keep them different, right? Like, it's great that Mr. Toad still exists somewhere. It's great to me that some version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, even if it has Darla in it, still exists somewhere in the world, right? I know there's some stuff that exists in Japan that someday maybe I will be able to see, but again, it's nice to see them in two different sides. What about Rob? What about you in entertainment in general? What's the one thing that you love at Disneyland, and what's the one thing you love at Disney World?
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you. That's why I get paid no bucks.
I like them all, but I will tell you that. And some of it spills over into some of the festivals. But you look at what happens and Disney World, specifically at Epcot Center, when you start throwing in, the Candlelight Processional, and you talk about all of the concerts that they come in. There's just a lot of really big, grand entertainment things that they do in Orlando that they don't do in California. So, I like all the shows, but it's kind of those big extra things that they do in Orlando that kind of pushes it over for me.
So Awesome Planet, and what else? No, I'm kidding.
I like Awesome Planet. I don't know why you're hating.
Here's the thing. I don't hate Awesome Planet or the Beauty and the Beast thing that you trashed earlier. I just wish there was something different there. There was a movie in that theater when I worked at the Land. It was called Symbiosis. I still have like nightmares about Symbiosis of how bad that movie was. And, you know, so I mean, I'm happy, or I was happy with the Lion King thing. I saw it a couple times, and then the one that's there now is Awesome Planet. I don't hate on that one. But you were talking, Kamila, about impressions and like your Disney, you can do something new. We've been waiting for that new China Circle Vision since they announced it. At the same time, they announced Awesome Planet and the new Canada Far and Wide and the Beauty and the Beast sing along. Canada Far and Wide, they think so little of it, they close it down for every festival basically. You know, even though, you know, the folks from the Creek are in that one. So, Allie, anything as far as entertainment goes?
I kind of agree with Rob. Like during the festivals at Epcot, you know, you get the concerts and there's stuff that they can provide that we just cannot have at Disneyland. I mean, they have that little stage in downtown Disney here, where they have bands, and I only hear them when I'm kind of running out of downtown Disney. But I think Florida definitely for the win on this one. But just because they have so much more space and so many more parks, and they can just do all those things there.
Yeah, the blessing of size. That was the other thing I was going to say is that, you know, we talk about Disneyland is the original. It's the OG. It's where Walt, it's the one he built. It's where he walked. It's, you know, it's got all of that sentimental value to it, whereas Disney World is the blessing of size. It's we can build, you know, if we can dream it, we can do it sort of a situation, rather than like building things on top of each other. They can build whatever they want to. Before we move away, so we were kind of put together attractions and entertainment, but I think we feel like attractions, you know, the W goes to Disneyland by a nose, and for entertainment, Disney World all the way. Is
It's
the
not even
skyline?
close.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not even close for entertainment.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's Disney World all the way. We're going to talk about. I was going to ask if the Skyliner, because I've got transportation to talk about later. We feel like that's transportation and not a ride, right?
Yes.
And then the monorail feels like it's a ride at Disneyland, but transportation at Disney World. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a little weird. So let's talk about food, because love me some food, as is shown by my physique. I love me some food. I look at the table service though, and I feel like for me, Disney World for the win across the board, not just in quality of like the locations, but the quantity of the locations. Like, forget about the resorts for a second. When you're talking about just straight up in park restaurants, they're amazing. Like Skipper Canteen and Be Our Guest, and you know, like, and we're talking about table service here. I want to talk about counter service next, but table service, I feel like the win goes to Disney World, because when I think of my favorites, you know, I love Space 220. I think that's divisive. Some people love it, some people don't, but I love the vibe, and I enjoy the food there. Liberty Tree has always been one of my favorites. Like, those are the things that when we're doing a Disney World trip, we're like, let's get those ADRs. What are we doing? You know, where are we going? And when we're doing Disneyland, I'm like, you know, is Lamplight open? You know, that's okay.
Oh, wow.
No, Lamplight's
Put
not
some
open.
respect on Lamplight's name.
But I mean, okay, all right. So let me throw that one to you first, Allie, since you're the one that goes there the most.
I mean, for Florida, for sure, again, for the win on this. I actually went to Blue Bayou on Thursday. That was probably my first time in about a year and a half. And as a local, I do not go there very often. The food is either really good or really not good, and you're just paying for the ambiance. Carthay, I think, is great at Disneyland, but again, it's very expensive. It's hard to get into, but you know, it's great if you can go. And unpopular opinion, but I do not like Lamplight Lounge. I'm just going to put that out there. Every time I go, we wait forever for a table. The food is always kind of subpar at best. The drinks are good, but they're extremely overpriced. And it's just not that good. And then you go to Florida, like all the sit-down places at Animal Kingdom are amazing. Yak and Yeti is phenomenal. Tiffin's is great. Most of the places at Epcot are great. Magic Kingdom is what it is. And I mean, Brown Derby at Hollywood Studios is wonderful. I mean, just, and all the places at the resorts are great.
I'm putting you on the spot. You said most of the places at Epcot are great. When you think of Epcot and you think of places that aren't great, what is it where do you have in mind there?
I'm, and this breaks my heart. I love that Mexico Pavilion, but the sit-down restaurants are just not
The
that
St.
great.
Angel Inn?
They're
And the Cantina? You don't like those two?
overpriced. It's so overpriced. I can get better tacos a block away from here for a third of the price.
Well,
I'm just throwing it
St.
out
Angel
there.
Inn, Blue Bayou, indoor by a boat ride, I mean, no?
Yeah, you're paying for the ambiance at that point.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I loved about Space 220 the first time I went is that in a lot of cases you're paying for the ambiance or the experience. Rainforest Cafe, looking at you, and the food. So, when it comes Planet Hollywood, same thing. I love going in and seeing all the props, but the food. So, when it comes to stuff like that, I mean, I'm really more all along the lines for Disney World and the food stuff. But Rob, you just made a bunch of ADRs for your trip when you go there, right?
Yeah, honestly, for me, the best food in the resort are at the hotels, right? So, love me some California Grill, Steakhouse 71, Narcoozy. I mean, for me, most of the places I really want to eat actually aren't even in the parks. They're at the resorts.
What was your Lamplight Lounge thought? You made a face about that one.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times, and the food is just overrated. And honestly, I've been there 3 times, and not a single time have I gotten what I would consider really good service. So, it's a
Yeah,
meh.
service is terrible there. Service is
Yeah.
not good there.
Wow, Kamila, food thoughts.
Uh, I mean, I'm just kind of shocked. I don't know. Brunch at Lamplight Lounge is the only thing. Like I will try to do that every time. I think it's wonderful. I've had nothing but great experiences with that. Big fan. Even going to Lamplight Lounge not for brunch, I don't know. I had a really good experience, like a bit of magic that happened to me literally the last time I was there, I think, which was in August. I talked about how much I like the coasters. So if you've ever been, the coasters there have like these animation drawings of different Pixar characters. And I was just like talking to my waitress about like, oh, these are so cute. Are these new? Whatever. And next thing I know, she brings me over one of each in this cute little bag. And she's like, here, take this home. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. So I love Lamplight Lounge. Honestly, I think Blue Bayou, I feel like what Disneyland does well in terms of table service dining, I think they do really well. I think Carthay is good. Lamplight Lounge is good. Blue Bayou, I think is an experience. At least try to do it once. But I think overall Disney World definitely is better. I will say this. I think there's food you can get at the Disney table service restaurants, and then there's good food. And I do feel like they're still two separate things. So sometimes when people are like, oh my gosh, I didn't get this reservation, I'm like, I promise, the barbecue down the street is better.
Wow. Well, okay. All right. First of all, we have a super chat from Alex D23. Thank you so much for the super chat. Disney World for the win by food. Go Florida. So we got some Florida stands that are out there going, come on, people. When it comes to the actual food, and again, that's why we're talking about all this today. And thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you. When we're talking about Disneyland versus Disney World, you do have to look at all of it in the experience, right? One of the things I don't have on my list to talk about is the castle. Like when you go to the Cinderella Castle and you see it, it's just awe-inspiring. When you see the one in Disneyland, it's so quaint. It's kind of like kind of explaining a house you're selling as cozy. It's so quaint, because I think that's the thing that for people from Florida that shocks us when we go there is that it's so small. As compared to the grand, huge one that we have for in Florida. So I didn't really have that on my list, but I do think that's a gimme when it comes to that kind of stuff. We didn't even talk about resort hotels, because when we talk about resort hotels, Disneyland has 3 resorts, and we'll talk about those later. But the one like Paradise Pier that they bought and they refashioned and is going to be Pixar Place had one, basically the PCH Grill. which, you know, we went and liked it. Most people went and they're like, I don't really love it. And then it's been shut down, you know, it was shut down before COVID, I believe, and never came back. And so that whole resort didn't have a sit-down restaurant. And so, you know, then you go over, okay, well, we've got, you know, the Grand Californian, and there are some very upscale choices. I love Storytellers Cafe. That to me is a really nice place to go, especially for families and the buffet and all that kind of stuff. And then Goofy's Kitchen, we've done Goofy's Kitchen for Thanksgiving, you know, several times before. And when it was character dining, they had the oddest characters. It was like, hey, here's Aladdin and Baloo. Wait, what? Aladdin and Baloo? Why would you do this? But it was almost fun to see the different characters they would do, and the peanut butter pizza, the peanut butter and jelly pizza, and that kind of stuff. And then, you know, they closed down Steakhouse 55 and then opened Steakhouse 71, and that seemed weird. And now they're looking to reopen that. So the resort food, Rob, I think you kind of talked about this before. Like resort food, I feel like for the win is Disney World by a mile, right?
Yeah, by a mile. And they just have so many, you know, resorts, and most of them have some sort of food. You know, obviously the deluxe have signature dining, and it's just so many more options. You know, I also think they do a good job in Orlando, like kind of leveraging the talent, the food talent, and the Orlando market. You know, bringing in restaurateurs from other companies that also raise the quality of the food that are being served in the restaurants as well.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. So there are a lot of neat things that are worth leaving, you know, Disney parks in Florida to go to a resort for, but it's also a journey, right? Like if you're going to go to, I don't know, Sanaa for dinner, you're taking a trip. Like you've got to find a way to get there, and it's not close, and it's at Kidani Village. And so if you were even at the Animal Kingdom park, you might as well just, you know, cut your losses there and just decide you're spending the rest of your night having bread service. But it's amazing. And so, you know, I feel like there's a lot of those things that I can, you know, point out and say these are great, as opposed to, and we're going to talk about infrastructure as part of this too, is, you know, you can, if you go and you say, hey, I want to go ahead, I'm in Disneyland Park, but I want to hit Trader Sam's. Like that's just a little hike up the, you know, up through there to get to that one. But if you want to go to Trader Sam's at like the Grog Grotto over at the Poly, then you've got to go the long way around the Resort Line monorail, or you've got to walk, but you can't right now because things are cut off, you know. So it's like it's a little bit of a thing. But let me ask you, because I assume, Allie, you've been to the one in Florida, Sam's versus Sam's, because there was a guy in chat, Rob Bazemore, was in chat saying like he feels like the Disneyland version is better. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree that the Disneyland version is better. Our outdoor is great. Our inside is fun. We've done the inside in Florida once. I feel like our service was better here. And I also feel, I don't know, like my other half is Hawaiian, so he gets really particular about these things, but he likes that both of them have live Hawaiian music, so that part is great, and we're more than happy to sit outside and listen to the Hawaiian music, but I do feel like our one here is a little bit better. I feel like the service is better, and the drinks are better, and we get way more new mugs, so just throwing that out there. If you're into the mugs, definitely California for the win. I mean, they're both great, but Disneyland by a smidgy bit.
Yeah. Michael Sullivan reminding us there is direct boat service. Kamila loves boats, so I'm sure that's going to be a big thing if you want to go from Magic Kingdom to get over there. I honestly, I think that I probably went to the one in Florida before I went to the one in California, which is weird, but it's because I wanted to see, gosh, why am I forgetting her name? The goddess, the tiki goddess that's in there from the Oa. Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. So, I mean, I love it when they do stuff like that, when they take, you know, stuff from attractions. I was from the you know, Enchanted Tiki Room under new management, and they put her in there, and they'd have the whole drink, and that to me was worth it. So for me, I have a little bit of a fondness for that one, but yeah, I mean, it's both of them are very, very cool. All right, so let's move on to counter service. Because it may surprise you, I have interesting takes on counter service, but I want to start with Kamila on this one, because I mean, do you even bother with counter service? You pretty much are like, you know, first class all the way, right?
No, I absolutely love, because I like to, I like to get the most out of my day. And so sometimes dining, like you just said, just getting there can be easily 30 minutes to an hour, depending on where you're coming from. But no, I feel like for quick service, counter service, Disneyland, like so many of my favorites are at Disneyland. I mean, I could just the burrito tacos over in Disney California Adventure at I think it's Cocina Cucamonga at Pacific Wharf. The soup bread bowls they have over there, that whole little area at Cars Land where you can get so many treats, so many good drinks. In the morning, the cart across from Big Thunder Mountain has the breakfast chimichangas. Oh my God, get one of those, but they do sell out quick, so you got to go early and get in that line first. I mean, there's just so many things. I'm telling you, the vegan Ronto wrap at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, there's so many good things, and I feel like the quality is good, the flavor is good, like it's things that I would actually go out of my way for. I don't know that at Disneyland, like at Hollywood Studios, I like the chicken tenders. Like it's just, convenient, and it's good, but it's not anything special.
Yeah. Well, Allie, you've probably eaten more of the counter service at Disneyland than any of us here, and you've had it in Florida. I mean, where do you fall?
Yeah. This one I'm gonna give to Disneyland, and I think because it has to be better because most of us are locals and it's easy for us to eat at home or grab something on our way over. But if the food at Disneyland is good, I will get it. Like she just said, the chimichangas are fantastic. Like that is something I will get almost every time. The food at Jolly Holiday is good. The bread bowls are great. The lobster roll is great. I mean, the birria tacos are great. Everything is really pretty good at Disneyland because it has to be. And Disney World, I can think of maybe 3 things that I might order from a quick service, like the fish and chips from England, the tacos from Mexico, and breakfast at Friar Nook. Like that's probably, or no, Sleepy Hollow, that's the one I'm thinking of, the one with the waffles. That one's really
the one
good.
with the waffles. Rob,
Yeah,
counter service, where you at?
Yeah, I agree. Disneyland's a little bit better. I think that's part of it because going back to the locals park, people aren't going to all the signature dining throughout the park because there's popping in after work. So I think by default they have more quick service offerings, and I think they're higher quality as well.
Well, I'm going to say I agree with you. Like Rancho del I'm going to butcher this, Rancho del Zocalo, like that Mexican. I would take that over the Mexican walk up in Epcot. So I mean, I think that's a great choice. I there are a lot of those places. I like Pim's Test Kitchen. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
To me that's so fun, and the oversized the big little chicken sandwich and all that kind of stuff is so cool. And then the Tropical Hideaway, that's great. And then Bengal Barbecue.
Bengal
I could
barbecue is
do
great.
Mm-hmm.
literally. Tom and I had breakfast at Bengal Barbecue. I mean, like, what do we want for breakfast? We want skewers, and we want them now. So yeah, I do agree with that, though. I will say honorable mention to Satuli Canteen, though. That's one of those that when I'm in, it's like it lures me into Animal Kingdom. Like to go, like, what am I going to do for lunch? Is let's go hit Satuli Canteen. I don't know. The buns are great, the bowls are great, all that kind of stuff. But I think that there's a lot of Pinocchio's Village House. There's a lot of Cosmic Rays and Pecos Bill and that kind of thing. So, while again, by a mile, we're talking the Disney World, whether it's character dining or signature dining, all of those great table service. But I think we're all in agreement that probably we lean a little bit more towards Disneyland for the counter service stuff. Let's talk about this, because this is a weird topic, is infrastructure. Infrastructure is, to me, you've got a lot of pieces for this. There's the turnstiles, there's the access, and I'm not going to talk about transportation yet, but access to the parks with how that works. There's the crowd, like the space that's available to you in the parks to walk. There's like chairs and things like that. I think, to me, well, I'll give mine last. Rob, what do you think when it comes to that kind of stuff?
Well, so a couple things I have to ask is on infrastructure. are you counting like repair and maintenance as part of infrastructure as well? Because I think that the fact that Disneyland, the executives are there touring the facilities, every day, I think it gets a little bit more love and attention in terms of repair and maintenance and upkeep. So that alone, I think, goes to Disneyland in a big way. But in terms of the infrastructure, you got to look at it in terms of what's needed, right? Obviously, to run a four-park, massive property like Disney World, it needs a significantly higher amount of infrastructure in place to run it. But is it running better than Disneyland just because it's larger? I don't think so.
Wow. So yeah, I think I'm including all of that. It's like those things that it takes to operate, and that means as far as infrastructure goes, we're talking about like again. Turnstiles is a thing to me. When you go to Disney World, you go through those tap styles and you tap your band and you put your finger and it's green and you go. Disneyland uses those old school, very small, I'm a big guy turnstiles, and then on top of that, you've got the I'm sorry, you haven't used this picture, this ticket yet. Let me get your picture and put it on here to make sure. And again, that could be the whole locals thing. Like, hey, let me just give you my pass and you can go. But you can't do that because there's they have to take your photo. But it seems like, what are we doing? Like, it seems so backwards. When I went this last time, and Allie, I don't remember if I talked to you about this or not, but when I went this last time to Disneyland, I was all excited because this is my first time using a Magic Band at Disneyland. I was like, I was ready to go. I took my Disney World band and made it a Disneyland band because I'm just that kind of guy. And I go in and I'm like, nobody else was tapping. Everybody else was using their phone for scans or whatever. No one else was tapping. And so I feel like then I go to my hotel room and the band didn't work. The band doesn't work in your hotel room. It looks like it should work, but they're not there yet. And so like from that Magic Band system, that's a thing, but also but also the thing that gets me is crowds, because I feel like the flow of crowds is it's stifling because again, the lack of size when it comes to Disney World. So, I mean, Disneyland. So, Allie, go.
Yeah, definitely. Disney World for the win here. It's not even comparable. I mean, like today, for example, we're there. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's spring break. It's crowded. They have 3 people working security because we don't have those bag scanners like Florida has. So everybody has to have their individual bags searched. So again, that's 15 minutes we're standing there waiting for somebody to personally look through our bag instead of just having that. And then, like you said, the tap styles, the girl I met up with, she didn't have a Magic Band. So I'm tapping into a ride and then she's got to pull out the thing on her phone. So it's like, if you're going to roll this stuff out, like, let's just completely roll it out and make it worth our time. And then I would agree, like you said, with the turnstiles. Meanwhile, they're cute that they're the original turnstiles. Those ones in Fantasyland are tiny. And I am not a tall person and it is like awkward for me. So I don't know why we can't update some things with that, but Florida for sure is way better on the infrastructure. Just light and day ahead.
Kamila?
Yeah, and then I would echo what everyone else has said and just add to that the app. I mean, everything that you can do in the Disney World app, a lot of those functions and features are not available in the Disneyland app, and they are 2 separate apps. The fact that you can very quickly get into your room. You can, see your dining, see all your plans, make your park pass reservations. There's so many features that just are not well done on the Disneyland app that it's shocking that this is the same company. And I don't know why the Disneyland app gets no love, but it is such a world of difference of an experience if you are trying to plan a vacation to Disneyland through the app.
Yeah. Well, let me just go back to what Allie said about security. Security in general gives me anxiety. And it's not, I don't have anything to hide, but it always makes me feel like I do. And it was this way when we had and I think I may have mentioned this, temperature checks. It was like, oh, please, don't, I don't want this to set off. But I switch backpacks at Disney World because I have a Darth Vader backpack that has this big old medallion on it that sets off the ones at Disney World. But for the most part, that, like, I don't know why they don't do that at Disneyland. The the walkthrough sensors, as opposed to the pat you down and the old school ones that they use at Disney World, because it slows things down so badly. We went once, and we were going to go. It was during Star Wars Celebration. My son and I were there. We were going to go to Disney World. I mean, we were going to go to DCA, but we had Disneyland passes, but it was after 3, and so, or reservations. So we walked through, and the line was out the door because it was Star Wars night at Disneyland, and everybody there was for Star Wars, and so it was this huge line. I was like, oh crap. And I think I may have texted Allie and said, hey, can I just walk into DCA and tap in instead? And she's like, if it's after 3 o'clock or whatever, then they don't really care. But that's one of those things where, like, it took forever to get through security. And I feel like it's so much more efficient at Disney and Disney World, especially when you talk about, like, there are places where you can get into one park, and I guess they do that too at Disneyland. Never mind. I was going to say, you can run back and forth across the Esplanade and up and down through downtown Disney without getting refrisked.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good thing. But yeah, I don't know. The security thing, I feel like they just need to bring the better stuff to Disneyland and get that going. There's got to be a reason. I don't know why. Maybe they just really like the slow process. I have no idea. I have no idea. So
my
anyway,
understanding was, I heard that, maybe from Tom, was like, because they tested it briefly at Disneyland, and then that the union got mad about it because they thought there would be less people working security with those scanners, but I feel like it would actually be the same amount of people, if not more, because you have people directing, you have people checking the scanner, you still have people checking the bags. So I don't know. That's, I believe, what my understanding was. But
so yeah. All right, and just to the people who have joined us, we're talking about Disneyland versus Disney World. We're breaking it down by category. If you haven't already and you've popped in, please give us a like, as it helps people to find the video. And I'm hoping that this is one that everybody kind of takes to heart. And after the thing is over, I want to hear everything. I mean, I'm watching the comments right now, but I want to hear everything that you guys have to say about this. But going through the categories, attractions, we said, like, more rides, we said Disneyland. For entertainment, we said Disney World. For table service, we said Disney World. For counter service, we said Disneyland. And then for infrastructure, we're saying it's Disney World. It's close. I mean, it's really close right now. Let's talk transportation, shall we? Now, you need more transportation for Disney World because it is the blessing of size. It is huge. It is, I don't know if you've heard, but the island of Manhattan. So yeah, that's the spiel. So when you go into it, you've got a lot of different ways to do things. One of the things that hit me early on when I went for the first time, I was talking about in my 20s, my brother had gone before me, and he was like, it was disappointing going to Disneyland because you just drive up and walk in. Now, this was before DCA existed. He was like, you just drive up to the gates. And he goes, it's just like King's Dominion or, or Knott's Berry Farm. It's just like you expect bigger when you've been to Disney World. And there's a grand entrance when you're, like, going to the Magic Kingdom for the first time. Are you taking the ferry? Or are you taking the monorail? You come into the TTC and you've got your choice of that. And if it's your first time, that's an amazing experience, is, seeing the castle in the distance and getting closer to the park. And it's just so exciting. And I always recommend that people with kids take them to the Magic Kingdom first day. Like, that should be their first experience with Disney, is the Magic Kingdom. Now it's a pain to me because it's so, like, you can't drive right up. There's no, easy, quick transportation to get there. The best way to do it is the bus, but the bus waits are so long. And so, now it's a pain. But in theory, that beautiful, approach over the Seven Seas Lagoon is so fantastic. And back in the day, you would just drive up to the gated, to the gates and walk in. When DCA came, it was all changed, and it was basically made into a resort because you had the Grand Californian, and there was, the connection of downtown Disney to reach out to Disneyland Hotel, and they had Paradise Pier, and they had the parking deck, and then you have the tram that goes and snakes through. If you look at it from above, you see how many businesses there are around that thing, but they make you feel like that tram is part of the resort as you're going through. So with transportation, I feel like you got to go Disney World, but it's almost out of necessity that it's Disney World because you need it to get around. Rob, I'm gonna throw this one to you.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I would go the other way. I actually think I like transportation at Disneyland better because everything, even close by good neighbor hotels are all within what you would consider to be the bubble, right? Think about the amount of time it takes you to go from Animal Kingdom to anywhere, or over to Disney Springs. You know, it's all so centralized and so close together when you can just walk across from from Disneyland to DCA. Um, so just as a result of that, I think transportation is much more efficient at Disneyland. And of course, you have the Disneyland trams. Although that process is kind of a pain going from the parking garages to the trams to the park, I would definitely have to deduct from that process. But outside of that, I don't put a second thought to transportation when I'm planning my day at Disneyland. And you very much have to plan your day at Disney World.
That's fair. So you count walking as transportation?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's part of it.
All right, Kamila?
Well, and I would just add to that. So I actually completely agree with Rob. I think there's something about the way you can get around at Disneyland. And two thoughts came to mind. One is, even if you stay at a hotel or a resort that's a little farther away from Disney, it's not necessarily across the street or what you would consider to be walking distance. The Anaheim local bus, the Anaheim City bus, is very much a bus designed for all of the convention attendees, for all of the Disney and theme park goers, and it is really well done. It's clean. The bus drivers are so nice and helpful. The app is really easy to download. It's extremely efficient and inexpensive. You can call up your bus when you're ready, and within like 5 to 10 minutes it'll be there, and it'll take you where you're trying to go. So I've had great experiences even when I've stayed a little farther and taken the Anaheim bus. And then the other thing I was going to say just really quickly is, like, Rob, you talked about like just that grand entrance at, at Disney World and Magic Kingdom. And I would say there's something about standing in the middle of the promenade or the esplanade or whatever it's called. And, DCA is over there, Disneyland is over there. And especially if you can do this, like, at nighttime around Halloween season, and they've got like Oogie Boogie is up there and all the decorations at Disneyland. I mean, that it's incredible. And for me, there's nothing like it. It's absolutely my favorite. I find a lot of Disney World transportation to be extremely anxiety inducing. And, I just am wondering, like, when is the bus going to show up? Am I going to walk out and I just missed it? I don't know. It's like a whole thing that I just try to block out.
Okay. Well, you know what? That's funny to see, and Allie, you've seen it more times than anybody here, is that, because you can walk across the Esplanade, is that people go, let me watch the fireworks at Disneyland, and then just this race across the Esplanade to, like, let me go see World of Color, as race back, maybe to see Fantasmic or something. It's like some cartoon almost, the running back and forth. It's like the whole all the way over. I'm surprised that both of you went that way. Allie, you live it on the daily, so tell me.
I don't know where to go on this one, because I agree with what they're saying. Like, Disneyland, it's super easy. Like, we drive, we park, and then we can just walk everywhere. I don't like the tram, so we'll walk through downtown Disney. You get to hear the music. And then it's super easy to just bounce back and forth between the two parks. Like you guys were saying, oh, the fireworks are done. Hey, let's run over here and see World of Color. Or, hey, there's an Oogie Boogie Bash starting. We need to leave DCA. Okay, a minute later, we're inside Disneyland. Where if you're at the Magic Kingdom and there's a nighttime thing happening there and you have to leave, it's an epic journey to go anywhere else. But like we also said, out of necessity, you have to have all this transportation in Florida, and it is actually really impressive if you think about it. Like, okay, I can take a Skyliner today, or I can take a bus, or I can take this boat ride to the Polynesian, or if I'm at Epcot and I walk to Boardwalk, and then I can get on another boat and go to Hollywood Studios. Now, if you don't have anywhere to go and you're not in a rush, I mean, it's kind of fun. You get to do all these different things. It's like another ride. But like you guys also said, it can be super anxiety inducing, because I'm standing there and I'm like, okay, how long is the bus going to take? Should I take a bus somewhere else? Should I get on the All-Star Sports bus instead of the All-Star Music bus? Okay, there's lightning. Is the Skyliner going to be open? Should I walk to Beach Club and get an Uber? Or do I have to walk to the front of Epcot and hope there's a bus there? Or is the Skyliner maybe working? I don't really know what's going to happen. So
well, when you put it like that, I have two experiences that I could share that are that. Like, one of them was me walking out trying to get my way back to I was trying to get back from Epcot to my hotel so that I could drive over and meet some of the folks at Universal for like the RIP tour. And so I'm starting to walk out the back of Epcot, and I love the Skyliner. And I walk out of the International Gateway, and the Skyliner is down due to some severe weather. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, what are my options? My options are to run, which, again, body by food here. I'm going to run all the way to, like, the front of the park and catch a bus, which, again, could take forever. Yeah. What I did was walk to the yacht club or the beach club and ordered an Uber. That's what I sure did to get back, because that was the only option there, because I was, you know, I allotted enough time had I been able to get on the Skyliner to ride over and do that, but it wasn't going to work out that way. The second one was, I think I told this story before, is that I really, really, really wanted that Donald candy corn sipper, and I was trying to catch a plane, and I was leaving Epcot, and I found out they had it at Magic Kingdom, and I may or may not have made a hotel ADR that I ended up canceling so that I could go park at the Grand Floridian and get on a get on the monorail and go over to Pecos Bill to get the sipper and then get back. Nightmare, because I get back to the monorails, and you're making that decision: do I take the resort loop to go back here, or I got to take the resort loop, or do I take a boat? No, that boat doesn't look like it's going to take too long. I mean, so in those cases, when I'm being an idiot, it's a problem. But overall, like, the Skyliner to me is one of the best things that Disney has done in a long time. And I know when we were first looking at it, we gave it hell. We were like, well, it doesn't look like you're going to have air conditioning. Well, that's going to suck in the Florida weather, and it doesn't. And why would they do that? And this is just a cheap out version of transportation. I love it. I love going to Art or Pop just for the fact, like, I could save a little bit more money going to All Star Sports, but I'm going to go to Pop because I can get the Skyliner, and the Skyliner drops me off so close to the entrance to Hollywood Studios, so close to the entrance to Epcot. Yep. Takes no time at all, and you can count on it. You can count on the amount of time, because you know how long it takes to get there, unless it's going to stop, which it does from time to time. You can count on how long it's going to be before you get there, and I think that is a game changer. And as far as the monorail goes, like, the little kid in me loved the monorail. I mean, like, I say the little kid in me. When I was a little kid, the monorail was magic. And then they, changed a lot of things. They stopped letting you sit in the front. They've stopped, upgrading them, fixing them, all those great things. But I think in general, the monorail was, like, iconic. That was iconic. It was one of those things where it was just, like, so good to be able to do that. I'm not a big fan of buses, but I like what they've done, making them pretty with the whole, like, oh, there's the Figment bus and there's the Frozen bus, and then the boats, I think, are, a neat option. And so the fact that there is so much transportation, I would lean to Disney World on this one. But Allie, you're saying you agree with them in Disneyland. It matters, because we're 2-1, so you're going to either tie it or you're going to tell me that you're giving it to Disneyland.
I mean, it's hard. Like, I guess it depends, like, what we're looking at. Like, as far as transportation options and the multitude of ways to get around, I'm going to give it to Florida. But if we're counting, like, ease of everything and being able to walk to stuff, then Disneyland by a lot.
Okay.
So I can't really answer that. I don't know.
You have to.
That one's a hard one.
I feel like you're leaning Disneyland, though.
It is nice to just walk everywhere. Like, I can just walk to Sam's, and then I can walk to DCA, and then I can walk to, it's nice.
Great. Also, in chat, Primus02 says the boats are underrated, especially the small, boats, the small craft.
The small boats, super fun. Yeah, super fun.
But so we're going to go ahead and give that one to Disneyland, which I think ties it up, right, for the whole thing. So one last conversation I want to have, and obviously for amount of hotels, Disney World is like 26-3 basically, right? So
Yeah.
for hotels in general, though, like, and again, we're not comparing how many because that's really not fair, but for hotels in general, Kamila, where do you stand? Who gets it here and why? Disneyland versus Disney World?
Oh, I would say absolutely Disney World. And I really just don't even think it's close. Um, to me, if you look at any of the three hotels that are at the Disneyland Resort, and Paradise Pier, to be fair, is going through a retheme, and so we'll see what it looks like when it's done. But I just feel like, to me, none of them feel particularly special. And I know you can walk in the Grand Californian, and it is a really unique hotel. I love how they have the piano player there, and he or she is often playing, fun Disney songs. You can go sit in front of the fire at one of the many chairs there. Like, there's definitely elements to each of the Disneyland resorts that I think are really unique, but I don't know that I feel like I need to stay at any of them. Whereas at Disney World, there are so many resorts that I truly love. And the theming of these resorts is so unique. I mean, you're not going to find something quite like this anywhere else. And, yes, there are so many options, but all of them are so different and they feel different. And you can just walk into the lobby and get that sense. And if you are looking to go on a vacation and you want to spend any kind of time actually at your resort, then I think without a doubt, hands down, Disney World is where you want to be.
All right, Allie?
Oh, Disney World for sure. Like she was just saying, I mean, there's so many different options there. I like that there's, 3 different tiers. So depending on how much money you have to spend. And I finally, for the first time, it's embarrassing, in January went to Fort Wilderness. And that alone to me was just like, I had no idea. Like I knew it was there, but I had no idea that it was so huge there. Like golf carts and buses and RVs, like that was just crazy to me. And then you can go to the Polynesian, or if you want to stay someplace, a little bit cheaper, Pop Century, Art of Animation is fantastic just walking around there. And then Disneyland, I mean, aside from the fact that they are ridiculously overpriced, I think for what you get, they're nice, but it's nothing special. They're not super themed. And as a local, I'm not going to pay to go stay there. I feel like if they had a little bit more affordable options or it was a little bit more interesting, I might, as a local, be like, hey, let's do, a night and stay and do all that. But I don't feel that with our hotels here. So definitely Disney World.
Well, and the funny thing to me is that, again, when I go there, unfortunately, I do have to stay somewhere when I go. The way that the Good Neighbor hotels are set up, they make it, to me, it's a little bit more of a hike to get to, so that impedes my experience a little bit. So also you get a little perk in the fact that, hey, I can't get, a pass for the, March 13th, or March 19th, which is opening day for Toontown. But if I had a reservation, they may lean my way in giving me a park reservation. So when it comes to those hotels, though, the 3 that are there, I've stayed at Paradise Pier because it is a little bit more cost effective, but they are horribly overpriced. And that was also the first place I ever went when I rolled up and they said, "Are you parking with us?" "Yes, I have a rental car. That'll be this much money." That was before Disney World was doing it, and I was like, "Whoa, what now? You're Disney. You don't do that. You don't charge for parking." Because it's, again, blessing of size in Florida. You don't have that in Disneyland. So, and I'm certainly not going to park in the, Pixar Pals or the Mickey and Friends, parking decks, but even that would cost me money. So, it's just, that was always a frustrating thing to me, was how expensive those are. So anyway, Rob, we need to get your vote on this.
Yeah, I have to say the same thing, right? Don't get me wrong, I love Disneyland Hotel, and there's such great nostalgia there, and the Grand Californian is also a great place. But when you start comparing it to Animal Kingdom Lodge or the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian, and then even in the moderate tier, when you start looking at like Port Orleans or or gosh, what's the other mid-tier one that has the new tower? Coronado Springs.
Coronado.
That's just an amazing hotel. I mean, those rooms there are equally as good as anything in Grand California, and that's a kind of a moderate hotel. So again, I'd have to go with Disney World winning the resorts.
Yeah, and again, we're not even talking about price. We're talking about just in general. You know, whether you could start listing off. You know, we could do a whole thing on just the hotels where we're talking about. You know, the amenities. What does the pool look like? What do the grounds look like? What other activities are there to do? The ones at Disney World all have like the the outdoor movies, and they all have some other kind of a thing. There's the flamingo pin when you go to the Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the hidden Mickey quests that you can take. And it is really, I think, Allie, you kind of hit the nail on the head, is to say that it's really more of like, if you're going to stay at one of these resorts, you could go, and I know people who have, especially like DVC folks, who would go to Disney just to stay at the resort the entire time and not necessarily even go. I mean, the feature pools, like the one at the Yacht and Beach, the Stormalong Bay, what? Like, that's insanely cool. So, I mean, I love
pirate ship.
Right, exactly. I love the Grand Californian because it walks you right into the park, into DCA, which is great. And you could say, well, the same thing for Boardwalk and Yacht Club and Beach Club, but that's a hike. As a matter of fact, most people, I think, may not know that when those resorts opened up, there was a tram that would take you from the parks to your hotel. That's why those walkways are so wide. That's why they had right where the Skyliner station is now, there were like the turnstiles or whatever, the chutes to go in and line up to take those trams. It's a hike. It is a hike to get from the International Gateway to Boardwalk or to Beach Club and Yacht Club, and so it's not close. But yet at the Grand Californian, you walk right out. You're in the park. You're just there, and that's kind of awesome. The same thing with Disneyland Hotel is it's very close, and it's cool that how close it is to downtown Disney. But I would say overall, those little features and not a lot of other things, and a lot of money that you're paying to stay in those hotel rooms. Yeah, it's got to go to Disney World on that one. So I feel like overall what we're saying, which is very strange, is we're saying mostly a group of people who started this one out strong with attractions being Disneyland. Entertainment went to Disney World. Table service went to Disney World. Counter service went to Disneyland. Infrastructure went to Disney World. Transportation went to Disneyland, which was weird, but it did. The seventh topic was hotels, and we gave that wholeheartedly to Disney World. So, it's really they're different. I think that's the big thing to bring to the table here for me, is that they are different experiences, and a lot of people who are outside of our Disney bubble don't understand that sometimes. And Kamala, I'm sure you have to deal with that a lot too, is, well, which one should I go to, Disneyland or Disney World? It's like, oh, well, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, because they're both different. But most people who know me, who know I'm a Disney freak, will go, are you going to Disney? And they, in their head, already have in mind it's either Disneyland or Disney World, whichever one means more to them. But they see them as interchangeable, and to me, each one is a very unique experience. So I think we could talk about this topic again and talk about some other stuff. Just some of the other topics that I left out were festivals, because both of them have festivals. Hard ticketed events, because I know on this panel we're all kind of team Oogie Boogie on when it comes to like that being like one of the big ones, right? And so, I mean, there are other things we can talk about. Maybe we'll talk about it again. But I appreciate everybody in the chat giving your thoughts and advice, and would love when this thing is over for you guys to jump into the comments and let us know how horribly you feel like we did on judging this. But I think it was pretty fair. But again, thank you guys for watching. I want everybody to give a thumbs up if you can to the video, so it helps people to find it. Give us comments afterwards. We'd love to hear it. There is a post show for our WIGS members afterwards. The WIGS is our we love our WIGS. The WDWNT Interglobe Society is our Patreon program. If you want to find out more about it, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Also, again, hopefully you'll join us for Deep in the Plus this week. And then Thursday night is News Tonight. Then next Sunday we're going to start talking about March Madness. We'll still talk about Parks News, but we're going to talk about March Madness that is going to be taking place on News Tonight. This is kind of our crossover event of the year when this happens, where we kind of cross over a little bit and bleed into News Tonight and what they're doing. So next week we're going to go over the topics that they are, all of the contestants they have in the food bracket for March Madness, and so hopefully you guys will join us for that. But before we leave, I want to get one more final thoughts about this particular topic tonight, and I want to start with Rob and end with Kamila, because I know, Kamila, you have thoughts. I can see it on your face that you have a wrap-up thought here. So Rob, final thoughts.
So I think of the two parks as like different vacations. If I have a week, then I'm probably going to Disney World. If I have a long weekend, 3 or 4 days, it's Disneyland 100%, because I think I can get more done in a shorter period of time and enjoy myself more at Disneyland. But if I have more time to really explore the breadth and depth of all that Disney World has to offer, that's where I'm going. So again, I think that they're both great places. They just meet different purposes for me.
Well said. Allie?
Yeah, I will 100% echo what Rob just said. It's completely different experiences. If you don't have a lot of time, you can get a lot done at Disneyland. We have the original rides, the original park, and the nostalgia factor and all of those things, but it is a very expensive trip compared to Florida. I mean, when we go to Florida, we spend anywhere from 1 week to 2 weeks, and we just go slow, we explore, all the little nooks and crannies of everything, and it is a completely different trip. So it's worth going to both. Just plan way more time for Florida.
All right, and Kamila.
Yeah, I mean, the last thing I will say is you cannot go wrong wherever you decide to go. You are going to have a wonderful time at Disney World, at Disneyland. At Disneyland, there's so many things that I love, and I find myself missing Disneyland more when I haven't been in a while. If too many months have gone by, I start missing Disneyland. I find myself planning trips to Disney World more, and I will just say there's something about waking up in a Savannah View room in Animal Kingdom Lodge, looking out your window and seeing giraffes, grazing and roaming, that is absolutely incredible. And I think that's what's different about Disney World. There's just an environment that you are transported to that you will not find anywhere else. I mean, unless you can actually, go on safari. But if you want to have one place where you can have so many different kinds of experiences, Disney World is pure magic. And so, just find ways to get to either of them.
Love that. Yep, I agree. And again, to people outside of the Disney bubble, they see it as one. And I think for us, we see it as they are two different destinations, and we want to get to both. And, then you've got all the stuff outside of that, Disney cruises in Japan and France and all these other places that we want to go. But because it's a little bit easier for us to speaking of transportation, to just kind of head on over to Disneyland or Disney World as opposed to trying to exchange your money. And, I don't know. It's someday I will go to Tokyo and I will love it, I'm sure. But the parks we have here are amazing, and I can't go enough, and I can't explain that to enough people, that it's a different experience every time you go, and it's a different experience to whichever park you go to. So again, thank you, panel, for being here. Thank you guys at home for watching. If you are a Wigs member, we're going to have a short post show because I know we're running super late tonight. But thanks for being here, and we hope to see you again real soon. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Get it.
Dun, 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 dun.
Love it. Thank you guys. Thanks for doing that one. All right, let's switch over here real quick. Hang tight.